Childhood Sweethearts. Chapter 11. Clearing the Air. So, what do you think they're talking about over there? Sweetie Belle asked, with a motion of her eyes to the table at the far end of the room where you were all once sitting. Rumble and Scootaloo were sat together at the table you were at a little earlier, and they were both talking. A noticeably saddened expression plastered on Rumble's face and in his glistening eyes. Even from here, you could easily make out the tears welling in his eyes. You were now all sat at a table nearer to the counter. Sat next to you was Apple Bloom, and next to her was Sweetie Belle. Across from you, Halo and Archer were seated together with an insanely large assortment of cupcakes. Archer was currently eating his way through a caramel cupcake, and Halo, well, she was more or less literally ramming her face into them, wolfing them down faster than she could swallow them. Whoa, how does one filly manage to withstand all that sugar? You mentally gave a round of applause. Rolling your eyes at Halo, you turned to face Archer, and he simply gave a shrug, obviously with the same thoughts in his mind. Sweetie Belle gave you a nudge, pointing toward a table occupied by Scootaloo and Rumble. Do you think he's alright? Sweetie asked, sounding evidently worried. Apple Bloom gave a soft sigh. Rumble has always liked Scootaloo. I can understand why he feels that way. Across from you, Arch piped up, swallowing a bite of his cupcake and nodding, confirming what Apple Bloom had just said. It's true. The guy's been crazy about her since he met her. Talks about her all the time. Archie gave a quick glance over his shoulder at Rumble. Well, yeah, could you blame him? I mean, she's kinda cute, Hilla said, causing you to almost choke on the blueberry milkshake you were currently drinking. You winced at the freezing cold sensation left on your brain, causing you to clench your teeth in pain. What? What? You half exclaimed, your voice coming out as half of a groan. Halo blinked at you, seeming confused. Did you just say cute? You questioned. Halo simply upturned her upper right lip. Yeah? And? She is cute. Don't you think so? She raised her brow at you, and your eyes shrank. Well, yeah, of course I do, you said with a heated crimson blush burning on your ice-white cheeks, as you scratched the back of your neck uneasily with a hoof. I just didn't expect you of all ponies to say that. Hela gave you an offended look, her lips transforming into a pout. Hey, what? You... she stammered, unable to find the words to make a comeback. She huffed in defeat, slowly picking up yet another cupcake and biting into it. Alright, you two, enough of that, Archer said, a face of disapproval being given to his sister, deepening her frown. Besides, I think Scoots and Rumble are coming back. Archer turned around and looked over to see Scootaloo hugging Rumble, before giving a friendly hoof bump and picking themselves out of their seats before making their way towards the rest of you. Upon reaching the table, Scootaloo came around to your side and sat in the free seat beside you. Rumble joined Archer at his side, facing Sweetie Belle. Rumble's expression seemed to have transformed from a gloomy one back to his usual smiling face. Him and Scootaloo shared a smile. Nudging Scootaloo's elbow with your hoof, you offered her a drink of your milkshake and she accepted. Sweetie Belle and Rumble shared a glance. So, is everything alright? You were kinda quiet earlier. Rumble looked down for a brief moment, releasing an audible sigh. Yeah, I'm fine. Don't worry about me, he said, looking over to Rumble. You studied his expression, knowing right away he was still holding on to his feelings. You yourself have known that he liked Scootaloo, and he has felt that same way about her for as long as he has known her. The two of them have pretty much grown up together. You thought it was understandable, given the circumstances. He would probably be over it soon enough. Not a single one of your friends said a word for the most of the time you were sat all together. They all sipped on their milkshakes in silence, all apart from a certain pony who broke that silence by hammering her face left and right with cupcakes. With the way Halo acts sometimes, you sometimes thought she wasn't actually a filly, possibly a changeling, or perhaps even some kind of creature from the Everfree Forest. The silence of all your friends was already becoming awkward, and you decided to turn things around. Thinking, who exchanged looks with Sweetie, Apple Bloom and Scootaloo. "So," you began, catching Irripurna's attention. "Any ideas on how we could find our cutie marks?" You asked, noticing a newly found spark in the amber of Apple Bloom's eyes. "Potion brewing. We can ask Twilight or Zakora to teach us," she said with a beaming smile. "Wait, what? Do you remember last time? You nearly blew a hole through the wall of the library," Scootaloo said. An embarrassed blush appeared on Apple Bloom's cheeks, and she shrank back in her seat. "Oh, well, maybe not then." "Oh," Sweetie chimed. "We could try to get a cutie mark in singing or dressmaking. Rarity has a few clothes she needs making for a client, so we could see if she needs any help." Apple Bloom blew a tuft of hair trail of mane from her eyes. "Somehow, I'm not sure that's a good idea, sweetie. When Rarity's working, she puts me on edge with how strict she can be. Remember that fit she had when she accidentally destroyed my hair sewing room with your magic, or when you all made them capes from her special golden fabric?" Sweetie looked thoughtful for a second. With a blush, Sweetie sighed, defeated. "Well, what about racing?" Scootaloo suggested, your ear twitching. "Racing? As in competitive racing?" You thought deeply on this in your mind, wondering on what type of race. Running? Flying? Scooting? When you were living in Manhattan, you knew that there used to be some races, but mostly roller derby racing, which you've seen enough times to know that getting yourself injured or worse is more than an easy thing to accomplish. "Hey Cerulean, don't you have a scooter?" Before moving to Manhattan, you used to live in Cloudsdale, where the very sport of sky scooter racing was born. Your father, Frosty Blaze, was the champion of the sport, and the same scooter used during that race was the one that you owned. It made you nervous, to say the least, the idea of using his trademark Skybolt scooter to participate in racing. "Cerulean, hello!" Halo waved a hoof in front of their eyes. Blinking, you shook your head and came back into reality. "You still with us?" she asked, to which you blushed, not noticing that they were trying to get your attention. "Hey, what? Halo rolled her eyes. Scoots asked if you had a scooter. Blinking again, you turned to face Scootaloo. She smiled sweetly to you. "Oh, yeah. You know I do. My dad's Skybolt. It's specifically designed for Sky and Grand racing," you said with some pride and some nervousness, wondering what she was getting at. "Why?" Scootaloo pointed to the wall directly beside the counter and to a poster pinned to it. It was a white-bordered advertisement of a race, the picture in the centre of it displaying a proud-looking Colton filly on scooters, each with daring and competitive expressions on their faces. Beneath the image of them was some text in bold black letters. "Ponyville Scooter Rally. A single lap race around Ponyville for all Colton fillies with scooters." "A Ponyville scooter race?" you said, eyeing the poster for a few moments while looking towards Scootaloo. "Oh, I don't know, Scoots. They're good for fun, but have you seen what can happen during one?" Scootaloo raised her brow at you, clearly confused. "What can happen? You know, like winning?" She smirked, and you sighed. "No, getting hurt," you deadpanned. She scoffed. "Scoots, I'm serious. Those types of races are dangerous, especially for kids like us." Scootaloo's smirk grew larger. "Sounds to me like you're scared of losing," she teased, prodding your shoulder. You narrowed your eyes at her. "Don't tell me you're scared of coming last, Cerulean." You brought your muzzle up to hers, to the point where they were touching, and you could feel her warm breath on your snout. "No, I'm not. I'm scared for you." Oddly, this seemed to amuse the Pixies filly, and she tried to suppress a chuckle. From beside you, Apple Bloom and Sweetbell glanced at each other, worried looks in her eyes. Sweetie edged closer to Apple Bloom, motioning with her eyes for her to pull closer so she could whisper in her ear. Catching it on, Apple Bloom moved her head next to Sweetie and positioned her ear next to her friend's muzzle. "Something tells me this isn't going to end well," Sweetie said as quietly as she could, doing her best to keep quiet enough to minimise the chance of either Pegasus hearing her. Apple Bloom nodded her head in agreement, knowing that Scootaloo goes wild when she gets competitive, especially in racing. Archer, on the other side of the table, nudged his sister's elbow with his hoof, watching her in concern. Halo's face was tinged green on her cheeks, and muzzle and her lips were pressed tight together. Halo? It was clear that her heavy consumption of the sugary, delectable cupcake assortment had taken its toll on her, and her stomach was doing somersaults. I need to... She gagged. Her lips parted a brief second before she cupped her hooves around her mouth to stop anything coming out. A panicked look arose in her glistening eyes, and he darted around, hurriedly searching for a restroom to release the contents of her stomach before it was too late. Within seconds of spotting the nearest restroom, she was off without warning, moving like a purple-coloured lightning bolt, the sound of a door slamming being heard, followed by the sound of heavy vomiting. Archer rolled his eyes and sighed. I told her not to eat all them cupcakes. But does she listen? No. Sisters. At that, a round of laughter erupted at the table, every pony joining in. When the laughter died down, after a minute or two, you turned towards Scootaloo. Anyway, it's getting late. You glanced outside the window, watching the sun transition out of the way for the moon to take its place. Sweetie and Apple Bloom took notice. Oh yeah, we should both be going. Apple Bloom, why don't you come out to Raiders with me? I'm sure she won't mind. Sweetie offered, and Apple Bloom smiled. Sure. Sounds fun. I'll have to tell Applejack first, though. Saying their goodbyes, the two left the bakery en route to the boutique, leaving you, Scootaloo, Halo and Archer as the remnants of the group. Archer? You asked. You coming? Nah. Gotta wait for Halo. The sound of puking and Halo groaning was heard from within the restroom. Sounds like she'll be a while. You laughed. Scoots, you turned back to her. Do you want to come back with me? I'm sure Mum won't mind. We have a spare bedroom if you'd like to stay over. You offered, a noticeable blush appearing on Scootaloo's cheeks, and she averted her gaze, scratching at the back of her forehoof. Scootaloo said, unable to find any words. She glanced over to Archer, clearly seeking help for what to say. Archer gave a one-shouldered shrug and made a circular motion with his hoof, indicating for her to accept. Nervously, Scootaloo didn't speak, but instead nodded her head once and gave an affirmative, mm-hmm. With a smile, you both said farewell to Archer and made your leave, heading back towards your house.